Hello, everyone. I'm Imran Mirza from the AIN Podcast. Today, I'm here with Rajat Mehrotra, and essentially, we're just going to be going over AI and his experience with AI, and he'll give you guys a rundown of what you guys should do as high schoolers to get into the field. So, hello, Rajat. Do you want to give an introduction about yourself?
Hi, Imran. Yeah, pleasure to be here. I'm Rajat. I lead data science infra and AI platform team for Meraki Networking BU. And primarily, I'm managing the team, its priorities, its short and long term plan, and making sure that we achieve our technical as well as like business objective for our BUs.
That sounds great. That sounds great. So, do you want to just kind of get started with how you got into AI, when you got into AI?
Sure. So I would say, I mean, it all started like after my like 20 years back after my undergrad when I started my first professional job. I worked in Alcatel India for their wireless software division, and that's where we started looking into this whole server management, call quality control, and try to see how we can optimize it. And that was a very early time, actually, in 2005-6 timeframe using AI features. But after that, when I moved to PhD around 2008-9, I started working with actually autonomous system. That was a hot topic that time. That how systems can learn and heal themselves. So that's where I started. Uh, During my PhD time, I started working actually on the cloud computing side because that was another hot topic that time, and that's where I
Right.
learned that how we can use different machine learning approaches or AI based approaches for server software management and also the performance management of systems. So that was my, I would say, initial introduction with AI features, AI tools, AI paradigms. And after that, my PhD, I started with actually with a climate science lab in Reno. And that's where the whole climate science world was migrating that old style software and hardware environment to a more scalable approach, so that they can go better, they can do better prediction, they can go finer granular. I would call it like a your local weather prediction instead of saying that okay for the entire city or entire state kind of thing. So that's why I got this whole big data and AI based feature development. And since then, I had my next, I would say, next position with Teradata, and that's where I started developing those AI ML algorithms that can help people analyze their data for more short and long term, for seasonality, discovering different kind of pattern. So those are, I would say, my more, I would say, hands-on experience with AI ML algorithm and all those kind of tooling. But my position at Cisco when I joined close to 5 years back, I was assigned a team which was focusing more on the data ingestion, data warehousing things, and then developing AI ML features on top of it. So it can be as simple as that. Can your house Wi-Fi router look at the traffic pattern and look at the packet loss kind of things, and then see that how it can reconfigure itself? So those kind of simple AI ML features that we have started developing in my team actually. And then obviously in past 2 years now our we are encountering with all these agentic ops, LLMs, or those kind of new paradigm of AI. So pretty much I have covered like a full spectrum from 0 to 100, or 100 means wherever we are right now, based on my different positions. Well, it's a pretty good journey, I would call it.
That's great. That's great. So, when you started learning AI, was it like a university course or was it just like through your jobs, through your hands-on projects?
I would say that time, because again, I'm talking for like 15, 20 years back, that it was primarily for university courses. You learn coding, you learn different algorithms, you go play with it, kind of thing. But after that, I would say during my PhD or maybe after PhD, it is more, there are more content available online. Like you have different courses through Coursera, Udemy, and all that. So that's where I spent, I would say, most of my time after job, especially if I have to learn something new. So I would say this is really helpful content right now on Coursera, Udemy, and other places. Even I would say OpenAI and Anthropic, they also have a small tutorial courses. So if you want to learn something new, I think a lot of content is already available on internet.
Okay, that's a great point, especially since you were talking about how you've kind of been through the whole AI spectrum, like agentic AI and then also like traditional machine learning algorithms. Would you say that
Yeah.
because things like agentic AI are very popular right now, would you say that it's better to focus on those, or for people, for especially high schoolers getting introduced to AI, do you still think it's valuable for them to get an understanding of traditional machine learning and traditional machine learning algorithms?
I would say it's really important because once you learn the basics, that obviously gives you the whole idea what is happening on the backend side of these things. Plus, also that helps you think about these things critically. Because if I just go use some tools, some GPT or some cloud model, it will not let me think what is going in the backend, how I can improve on it. But once you know, again, you may not have to go to the mathematical formula level anymore. Even in my time, we did it, but we did not did 100% of the time. We also went for the application of it. So same thing goes right now. You learn the basics, you understand your critical, you develop your critical thinking around that, and then you use the latest tools or the tools available. So to achieve you, basically, these tools are helping you deliver things or do things faster. They will not replace the understanding or learning basics of the things.
Right, that makes sense, that makes sense. So, when it comes to AI research, I know that usually there's kind of 2 quote unquote kind of parts of AI. There's like industry and research. I mean, that's for many different fields, but especially
Yeah.
for AI in this case. So, what's your experience been with each of them? You've talked a bit about industry, but with AI research,
Hmm.
have you had any experience there? And what has your experience been if you do?
Yeah, I would say on the research side, my philosophy was always like solve the current problems instead of discovering the problem. Because the way how world is moving, if I discover a problem that we might face like few years down the line, there is a very high chance that that problem will not happen or that problem must have already solved by somebody else. So, and because of that, I always went through applied side of AI, even AI research. We went more on the applied side, and especially the idea was how we can use different tools, the data that is available across the board, open source, or maybe sometime like you may have to pay for the data, and use that to deliver things.
I see. So, do you have any like published research papers? Do you have any experience with the publication process?
Yeah, I did publish, I would say till my PhD or maybe a couple of years after my PhD, I published, I would say 25 to 30 paper. I was, during that time, it was uh, like well cited.
Mm,
I stopped publishing recently because now we are in a more corporate environment. So
right.
it's difficult to do obviously get clearance to publish those things. But obviously my team works on things that they get like a what do you call it? Patented actually some internal patent that
Mm.
Cisco wants to hold, some external patents if we feel that okay it's good enough to hold it externally, so we do that through our team, but no more publications unfortunately.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's great that's still going on though. So what would
Yeah.
you give high schoolers like advice when it comes to the research side? Because there's many different programs running nowadays. Like off the top of my mind, there's things like Algoverse and Polygens. These are all different names for high school programs that advertise
Hmm.
publishing AI research in conferences like ICLR, NAACL, ACL, etc. So what's
Yeah.
your kind of take? Maybe you don't know about these programs, but generally speaking, do you think it's a good idea for students to maybe enter AI research and maybe enter some of these programs as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's always good to attend these things, especially because you get to meet other people, other colleagues there who are working in the same domain. Another thing is by going to those research projects, if you are able to solve some real problem or able to apply some real application of those your research or your work, that will be really good. So my idea again, I might be going to the same. I'm just playing maybe the same tune that just do a research in the name of research, always to try to either solve an existing problem or try to come up with some kind of new application that can help others. Because sometimes research just stays in the book or stays on your computer for a long time, and it
Right.
just dies there after a few years.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I also agree there. I think just getting your hands on with AI research is very helpful, and especially the network as well. I think
Yeah.
networking, not even just with AI, but just in general, building your network is one of the most important things you can do.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
do you have any other advice, just kind of naturally, that you kind of have in your mind right now for students who want to get into AI?
I would say try to read more. Again, read means not only maybe books, but also online articles, something especially in the area where you're interested in or focusing on. Try to get hands on these, especially these free open source tools or repositories that you can play with. Try to see what is going on in industry right now. Again, you may not have to worry about the enterprise level of things, but the simple applications, like whatever application you use on your phones or you see on web, just try to see how they are working or how they are changing actually by using these tools. So just to be like, I would say, like a following that path of how technology is evolving, that's really important. And I feel that's, again, that gives our mind like a trains our mind, builds the critical thinking, builds how we can respond to the changes, because otherwise things will come in like a, what do you call it, like in a burst, and it's sometimes difficult to handle that. That
Mm.
happens with me also. So sometimes I have to go back like 1 month back old things and go read it, okay, how it evolved, and then I get comfortable on things what is happening right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think especially with AI just being so rapid nowadays, it feels like if
Yeah.
you're 1 week behind, it feels like you're a whole decade behind. So I can definitely
Yeah,
understand.
sometimes, yeah, it feels like that's what I'm saying. It's better to catch up with that in real time instead of going back and reading it about it again.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So also one thing that I was wondering as well is that maybe this is because I'm in the Bay Area, but it feels like there's some high school students who've already done a lot with AI. They've gone over the basics, they know machine learning fundamentals, they have some of their own projects, and they want to go
Hmm.
to the next level, but it's a bit difficult because they're in high school. So it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to just, for example, apply for an internship or something else like that. So what advice would you have for students that are kind of at that level where they're not really beginners, but they're kind of intermediate
Yeah.
and they want to start applying their skills in the real world, not just with like a homemade Python machine learning projects, but they
Hmm.
want to start working in a team or something along those lines. So, what advice would you give for those types of students?
Yeah, I would say, and based on my both academia and industry experience, I would say it's difficult for high schoolers to get attached to or get included in those industry projects and all. It's very difficult. I mean, even if we have sometime, it was mostly ended up as like a just tour of the facility, tour of the projects and all that, and nothing substantial happened after that. So I would say in that case, if you can get attached to some research lab, even if it's small or big, some universities, I believe they have more high school focused programs compared to, I would say, industry. So in my academic pursuits, when I was at the climate research lab or even during PhD, we used to have some high schoolers coming to our university or lab, and that's where they were working on some projects, real projects. I would say more like an application. Again, they may be like a creating application of things that we were developing as a research project, but I would say at least in that area they did substantial work that they could learn and then they could demo to outside. Plus, because most of that work is open source, that you can obviously take it with you outside and maybe build on top of it, or maybe build your own portfolio with that. So I would say be attached to those kind of research lab, especially the ones they have more high school program.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I think most students actually join research labs when they're at that level. So, I think that is
Yeah.
great advice. So, would you say maybe like
Or
cold
maybe,
emailing?
or maybe if there is some hackathon or something is happening, like I know that with Apple and Google, it keeps happening there. So maybe you can we can they can participate in that also.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
also a good opportunity to will. But again, that will be like a short exposure. There you will demo only what you have done. It will be difficult for you to get included in their project. But at least that will build your network, build your portfolio, and you will also get to see what other people are doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also like conferences like the ones I was talking about before, maybe even if you didn't publish at one of them like ICLR, NearEps, if you just
Yeah,
go there and just connect as well, I think that's also a good idea.
yeah. Yeah, some of them, if I remember correctly, some of them have high schooler. I mean, you can always write a paper. I don't think for writing a paper there is any qualification, there's any age limit.
Yeah,
But
there's
what I'm
not.
saying is that at minimum, people can present posters there or some small demos. Sometimes they have a smaller high schooler section where people can participate. So keep looking for those kind of places to present or to demo and build your own network.
Yeah, that sounds great. Would you say like cold emailing maybe if we're going back to the research lab part, you think like cold emailing might be the best way to get a position there?
Uh, Cold emailing works sometime, but again, then you have to really show the value that you are bringing in, and it has to be very focused on maybe that professor or that researcher's project, because they might be getting that email anyway from not only high school or even from grad students, and maybe beyond that, even for job positions.
Yeah, that
Uh,
makes sense. So like would you say when you say like value, would you say like maybe contributing to open source, Like, what constitutes value? How do you build value, especially as a high school student?
So I would say then you can maybe you can look at the different kind of applications, different apps people are building on this. All this again, I'm not sure this how far this vibe coding can take you in that, but obviously that's a good kickstart to bring something to use or to bring something in front of others. But if you can, people can build some application, some I don't know, some website, something that people can go and interact with. I would say that's a pretty good place to show the value,
Mm,
because value also matters depending on who is looking into it. For some people have it has something may have a large high value, but for others might have low value. But
right.
at least to bring something in front of others, I would say that's the most important part, so that people can interact with instead of just listening or asking them to read something to do a homework. It's easier to interact with those things.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. So speaking about, I think I'll move to like the entrepreneurship side. So do you think that like there's some high schoolers nowadays who are building like AI businesses? What's your take on that? Have you seen like, for example, like the GPT wrapper companies people talk about as well? So like just kind of your take on the idea of high schoolers like starting AI companies.
Do you mean within high school, or I mean during the high school years, right?
Yeah, during their high school years. Yeah.
I mean, this is good. I would say, especially if you can spend that much time or you can focus on that, then it's good to develop some those kind of. Again, it depends on what scale are we talking here. But at the same time, again, personally, I would say that it's also important to keep focusing on your core skills, core learning. So I will say, like, don't like leave that aside and focus on it completely. Maybe paradigm will shift. Maybe I will think differently a few years down the line. But I still feel core learning, core skills. It could be engineering, mechanical, or whatever, like electrical, mechanical, or whatever skills. That's really important. But at the same time, if you can build something that you can sell, that you can make money, that can help you obviously cover a few things, I'll support that.
I see. I definitely agree with you there as well. So, I mean, we're talking about high school students, and I think it's kind of impossible to talk about high school without talking about college and going to college as well. So, what's your
Yeah.
kind of take on, does the college you go to matter? For example, like, would you still say that there's a lot more value going to maybe Stanford over some state school? Do you think it's more about what you do at the schools? Do you think there's a difference between those types of schools in the first place?
Yeah, obviously there's a difference, because it's all about different community, right? That which community are you joining, depending on different schools, states, and like I mean community college, I would say. So obviously it matters where you're going, because that will be your community for next, I don't know, maybe forever. It's not only about like a college during those 4 years of college, because they will be your friends or family moving forward. More people will join or leave, but maybe they will be the core one. So it really matters. The only thing I would say personally, I don't agree with too much that whole student loan situation. So people should do what they can afford, or even if they have a loan, I mean they want to get a loan, but something that is comfortable for them. So don't go after the best school with the, because it may be pretty costly also, depending on which school system we are talking. But whatever makes you comfortable, do that. So that's my recommendation. But again, it's a community, so it's important to choose that community, and especially the thing that works for you,
Right.
because different schools are different program, different focuses. Sometimes course structure is also different. So people should pick and choose carefully, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think that a lot of people are very focused on prestige, especially being in the Bay Area. A lot of the students are very competitive. But I do
Yeah.
definitely think that just having this kind of one dimensional view that you need to get into the best college kind of overshadows all the other important factors that you have to consider.
Yeah,
But
and I would say in that case, actually, maybe the more than college, where do you work after that? Maybe that community is also important. So maybe you did some college in some remote Texas area, or maybe some other place. But finally, if you're working in Bay Area after that, it will all even out after some time. It may take a couple of years, but it will all even out. And again, it's all people's personal effort and the things they're focusing on. Uh, it should be fine eventually. I don't worry about that much. More the
mm,
financial side, I would say that don't take big loans or something. That's my personal view.
yeah, that's definitely fair. I agree with you there as well. I mean, student loans are just crazy nowadays.
Yeah.
But in the job kind of part where like I'm assuming maybe like you've had some interviews before where you're interviewing someone, does it ever like change your perspective? Like if you see, for example, like Stanford on the application instead of some other school? Because I've seen some like on LinkedIn posts for with recruiters saying that they see Stanford or like Harvard or MIT and they automatically just think of the applicant as being better. But like, what's your kind of take on that? Do you think that maybe you don't think that, but do you see that other like recruiters or do you see people in the industry also kind of having that mindset?
I would say the obviously it creates first impression, but based on my experience, it mostly mattered more on the fresh graduates that created a difference. But after a few years or with experienced candidates, we hardly saw any difference based on their schooling. After that, it's all about where you worked or what you did there. I think that was the main key factor. But obviously, as I said, it creates first impression or you have with the fresh college graduate that where he's coming from, he or she is coming from.
I see. I see. So, hmm, I mean, these are all really great points. I mean, we've gone over basically everything. We've gone over entrepreneurship in the business side. We've gone over the college side. We've gone over AI as a whole. We've gone over AI research, AI in the industry. We've also gone over, I think it was like how you can get into AI as a high schooler, and then if you've gone into AI, where else you can go afterwards. So
Yeah.
I think we've covered a lot of ground, honestly.
Yeah.
I
One thing I would say, especially with respect to AI or how AI, agentic AI are functioning right now, I would say, again, I haven't heard any, I would say, horror stories or anything, outside of our industry environment, but also to be aware about this whole compliance, ethics standard, and all that kind of thing, especially at high school level. People may start like implementing things or applying things first, even before learning the whole compliance, ethics, and all those kind of stories. So people may learn by example or learn by horror stories, but I would say for high schoolers, because the things they are developing, the data they have access to, it's really important for them to learn about that also. It could get them in trouble because again, that's something. It's my learning from enterprise side that we have to be very careful about which model are we using, which kind of customer data we are using, where that customer is located, how we are deploying things. I'm not even talking about the scale of deployment, but basic the functionality and this whole data standard and all. So I would say one thing also they should look into this whole security compliance and all with AI, how it is changing, and to be aware about that, especially when they are developing something real, which others will be using.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think with most technologies that grow so rapidly, I think everyone just gets so caught up on the hype train and they look at the technology itself that they forget the ethics side and the morals, the morality kind of
Yeah,
side, and also just generally speaking, how careful you have to be, especially with how big cybersecurity is nowadays. We've seen so
yeah.
many, like you were saying, horror stories in the past. So
Yeah,
I do
and
definitely
you
agree
will
with
be
you.
surprised even within enterprise domain, very few people know about it because I'm saying it because but that is my one of the responsibility of my team is to make sure everything is GDPR compliance and all that internal compliance kind of thing. But when we talk to an average engineer here or even the leaders or PM, sometimes they don't know the clear answer. They don't have a clarity on the exact way to do this. So that's why most of the time they reach out to us that okay, can you help us identify or see if everything is good or not? Do we have to make any changes in architecture or the way we are implementing something? But I would say in high school or again, because you are developing or deploying something that will be pretty quickly open to external world without any internal policing or something like that. At least at my Cisco or enterprise area, we have some policing. We have different kind of reviews, responsible AI reviews, and all that we have to go through. So we figure it out eventually. But for high school or somebody who is developing and deploying something in real world, that's really important, I would say, to
I
avoid any kind of trouble.
I see. So where would like a high schooler like me learn that stuff? Like learn like the specific policies and how to be compliant with those kind of guidelines. But I think you were talking about some organization before. So like where would
Yeah.
they learn those guidelines?
So I would say on those course like Coursera or Udemy, those kind of places, I think there are some mini courses focus on these things. Plus, also I believe there is good enough content available on Google search. If you search with respect to that, again now because Google search is also like a sometime some kind like a agentic ops
Yeah.
environment and all that, where
Yeah.
you have to prompt correctly to get your clear answer,
Yeah.
which is good and bad both. But I believe there is enough content plus those mini courses there, and that's why I'm saying maybe it's also important when you work with those research lab or even look at some of the compliance kind of courses on these big like Stanford, Harvard. Georgia Tech, I know they have some of the courses. You will get that information. But again, what I'm saying is it's only important when you are developing and deploying something for outside world. When you're doing something in your own hobby project or research project, maybe it may not matter.
Yeah, for sure. I think even in like personal projects, though, might be a good habit to establish, especially if it's like one of your first projects. So I definitely agree
Yeah.
there, though. So I mean, we're getting to 25 minutes now. I think if you have, do you have like any last things to say? Anything final that is on your mind right now?
Uh, Nothing is specific, but I would say again, as I always like that whole repeating the same thing, that keep learning the basics, keep learning the core things, those algorithms, basic programming, basic data structures, like computer science concepts and all that. So keep there's no replacement of that. Again, it all depends where do you move forward in your future, what your focus area is. If you're just working developing the application, maybe you don't need it, but it might be a good idea to learn that, especially you're focusing on the computer science or electrical engineer kind of path or any engineering path, I would say. So there's no replacement of those core skills or core learning, even if we have the most advanced system outside, which don't care if you know that or not.
Yeah, for sure. I was talking to, I mean, in other podcasts, I think at least three of the other people said the exact same thing. It's all about having the fundamental skills because those really can't be replaced, at least for now, by AI.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with you there.
And I believe for a basic human biology, that also help develop our brain, because I'm not sure what will happen if we just treat our things, I mean, treat our interaction as an input and output
Yeah,
and not critically think about it. Because everything is about maybe prompt engineering right now, but at the same time, saying the core engineering is also important.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Besides that, I mean, there isn't very much else to say. I mean, thank you so much for being here. But I do have one last final question.
Sure.
So tomorrow is the World Cup final. So I just want to know, who are you going to support? Are you going to support Spain or Argentina?
I think Argentina is going to win eventually.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean,
So
Lionel Messi is crazy, so I
yeah,
definitely agree
so
with you
yeah,
there.
that's the hope. But I'm hoping for a good final. So
Yeah,
interesting final.
I think a good game in the end is what we want.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being here. This is a bit shorter than our other podcasts, but I have been trying to cut down on time. So this is actually a very great place to stop. So I mean, we've talked about so many different things over the past 30 minutes. I think this is a great session. So once again, thank you so much for coming.
Hey, thanks, Imran. Happy to be here. Yeah, hope to see you sometime in person when I come to Bay Area next time.
I hope to see you too then.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
sure. Bye. Take
Bye
care.
bye. Take care.
Bye.